Our next storyteller, Quy Lee, he lives in Seattle, Washington. So how did this happen? Well, a couple of years ago, I worked with his daughter, Emily, who was a teacher at that point in Redwood City. And when I was looking for people to become storytellers, I called her and said, do you know anybody who has a story anything like your dad's? And she says, use my dad, he would be great. And he'll come down and be part of it. And so Quy and I have gotten to know each other through Skype meetings mostly. You're going to be pretty amazed. Talk about going out of your comfort zone. He's gone to another planet here. He's an engineer. But when he tells you the story of his escape from Vietnam, I want you to bear in mind, not only is it like a movie, but he was a teenager when he was leading this and developing the plan. Before the escape, Quy was repairing motorcycles in Saigon and selling things on the black market to get by. And he's used the same perseverance throughout his years in the United States. And his 3 kids are now all professionals. There's a doctor. There's an engineer who's here tonight. Wave your hand. Yeah, Alex. And then there's our teacher, Emily. And Quy, come on up and share your story.
Alice, you remind me to use my car. But, after the story, you guys know how am I. So that's why I still need my note instead of my cars. And also, I am like Apple II, just less than 1 megabyte memory. So I need this flash car here, okay? So go back to the old years. Okay. For the Vietnam history, let's go back to 1975, because that's the year that the war was over for many, many decades. It was in 1975 in Vietnam. I was living in Saigon, the capital of the South Vietnam. The North had won the war. The Northwest communists won the war. Everything was different under the communist control. Even though my family had been in Vietnam for more than 4 generations, we were discriminated by the communists because we come from China. They call us the Hoa and labeled us as the capitalists because many Hoa had operated businesses and there was political conflict between Vietnam and China. And the Hoa people were caught in the middle. After the war, most businesses were declared illegal. Families who'd been in business sometimes were taken by force and dropped off at the new economy zone in the remote area where there were no food and no resources, and where it was hard to restart a new life. Sometimes they searched our homes and business and confiscated goods. One time at midnight, 12 policemen arrived at our house and searched for money and goods. Luckily, my dad and my mom, they are good. They hid a lot of valuable belongings to a place that the police cannot find them. Right after their victory, the radio stopped playing all music that we grew up with in the South and replaced it by aggressive revolutionary music from the North. It's hard for me. Everything was slogans and propaganda. Everywhere were red flags and communist police. Many people many people were getting arrested and sent to re-education camps. Saigon had become red. We had to attend weekly meetings about politics. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't live at all. I feel like I very disappointed. One day, I questioned a policeman about the policy toward the Hoa people. An hour later, I was brought to the police station for questioning. They accused me of working for the CIA. I was the oldest of 12 children, just graduated from high school. I started to work two businesses. One, repairing motorcycles, and the other in the black market. I began planning how my family could escape from Vietnam. At first, I considered escape by foot to the jungles of Laos to reach Thailand, where we could find a refugee camp. I spent a lot of time planning out how to do this. I went to Ho Chi Minh Trail 3 times to figure it out in detail. I even bought a used, bloody camouflage uniform in case it would come in handy to blend in as a communist soldier. We would need to survive the jungle where there were malaria-carrying mosquitoes and poisonous snakes. We would need hammocks to sleep, for sleeping. Map, compass, food, water. We need to hide from the Vietnamese Liberation Army stationed in Laos. The journey would take a month. Finally, I came to realize that it would be impossible because my young siblings would not have to make this difficult journey. We needed a different plan. In 1976, relatives suggested that I partner up with 3 of them to buy a boat. We decided to take an opportunity to purchase a boat for 50 ounces of gold. Just so you understand how much money it is. Our whole house was worth only 10 ounces of gold. In the next 10 months, we poured energy into remodeling the boat to get it ready for the journey to Malaysia, where we would be able to find a refugee camp. Meanwhile, I taught myself how to navigate through the ocean. We listened to the BBC News on the radios every night. Even it was illegal to know which parts of the ocean to avoid because of pirate activity. I bought a compass in the black market and almost got caught and put in jail. Finally, in October of 1978, we paid for counterfeit travel permits that would get us through police checkpoints on our way to the southernmost city of Vietnam called Cà Mau. That's where our boat was waiting. I was 20 years old at this point. So you know how old am I now. The day of the escape, everyone loaded onto the boat. An officer took a final head count to make sure we pay for everyone. There were 265 passengers, 265 boat people. That's how many we needed for the amount of bribe money we had to pay. But was it too many for our 55-foot boat? Only 6 hours into the ocean on South China Sea. A big wave hit and cracked the tip of our boat. My dad and uncle fixed it using a handsaw and extra wood that they had bought. Not long after, we were stopped by the Vietnamese Navy. When we told them the password that the government officials sold to us, they allow us to proceed. The journey took 3 days. Most everyone vomited. The crowded bottom compartment of the boat was smelly and humid. Everyone was miserable. Finally, I spotted the lighthouse that we were looking for. We make it. Government officials would not let us land it in a boat. They forced us to Singapore. It was dark and very hard. Our steering wheel cable was broken. The boat was unstable in the stormy weather. My dad quickly fixed the cable. We turned back and landed where we were there the day before. This time, once we landed, my cousin cut a hole to the bottom of our boat. As we were sinking, and the Malaysians were forced to take us. We make it. At the Malaysian Refugee Camp, my family quickly claimed a place to build a shelter. We also dug a well and a deep hole for a toilet. For nearly a year, we survived on rations of rice and sardines from the United Nations. Eventually, in 1979, my family was sponsored to enter America. I went to Houston. I had $10 when I arrived. I lived with my sponsor and looked for work, but nobody wanted to hire me because my English was poor. I heard about an oil rubber fittings factory where the work was dangerous and the temperature was extremely hot. I walked 4 hours to get there and told the supervisor, if he showed me what to do, I would work a day for free. And he and he could decide whether to hire me. He gave me a job. Yes. He bought me a Coke and Big Mac for lunch. Yes. He even drove me home on his motorcycle. 60 miles per hour on highway, no helmet. Very cool. But you guys don't do it, okay? I worked 60 hours a week for 2 months, then moved to Seattle. I found a part-time job as a dishwasher. Later, I attended community college to learn English. I got accepted to the University of Washington, where I studied electrical engineering. Then I got a job with IBM. There were a few things that I brought here from Vietnam. One was a beautiful leaf from a tree that grew all around my hometown. I put it between the pages of a book and have it still, because I have to remember that's where I was from. The other was my high school education. I always stress to my children that education is something and nobody can take away from you. We are proud to be American citizens and know that this is our home. Thank you very much. Thank you.